Hi, welcome to Mr. Phil's Real Estate page and the latest edition of our video series. This one is prompted by a question I got recently from through Facebook, of all places. Someone asked me to check on a foreclosure. They wanted to know if it would be a good buy for them and get more information. So that prompted me to think about, and I did, and I took care of that. But here's the thing about foreclosures. Are they a good deal? Yes, for the right buyer. Here's some things to know about foreclosures. First of all, for someone to lose their home, they have to not be able to make their house payment. For someone who can't make their house payment, home maintenance is difficult or impossible. Um, there's even some people get to the point where, why would I maintain this? I'm never going to be able to keep it. Others struggle really hard to try to maintain it and just simply can't. So the thing about almost every foreclosure is that they need work. Some need a little work, some need a lot of work, some, quite frankly, should just be torn down. The so that's the condition of the property. So who's a buyer for foreclosure? Who are they a really good deal for? First-time home buyers will struggle buying foreclosures for a couple of reasons. A first-time home buyer needs to use a loan, typically an FHA loan. For FHA to fund that loan, the house has to be habitable. You have to have working plumbing in the kitchen and at least one bath. There can be no peeling paint. There can be no broken windows. There's a number of things. FHA is not in the business to just do loans on houses just because you want it. Okay. FHA and VA loans are funded through HUD. So on a HUD-owned foreclosure, there's a process to go through, and that always includes having either a proof of funds, which would be if you're a cash buyer, you have to actually provide copies of bank statements, or a loan approval letter from a lender that they'll accept, which is pretty much almost anybody now. The really bad ones are mostly gone. So, but that still only lets you borrow the money to buy the house. If it needs work, there's a special loan for that, and that's called a 203K loan. A 203K loan was invented to be used primarily by HUD on FHA loans. It allows you to buy the home uh, with the loan, and it also allows you to borrow enough money up front to pay for the repairs that need to be done. I'm sorry. So the minimum is usually about $30,000 worth of work, which isn't really hard to do on a lot of these. There's a lot of stuff that counts on an FHA 203K. You can upgrade windows, you can upgrade heating and cooling, you can upgrade doors, you can replace kitchens and bathrooms, you can redo the roof, you can do almost anything that isn't considered a luxury item like a pool. But here's the challenge. If you are a first-time home buyer looking at a $40,000 foreclosure that's going to need $30,000 worth of work, which is pretty much the minimum you're going to need to do a 203K, you have to qualify for a $70,000 loan, not a $40,000 loan. The other issue is that the 203K loan takes a lot longer to close. There's a lot of extra paperwork and steps and inspections that go along with it, and it costs more. It's a more expensive loan. You can figure anywhere from a half to 3/4% above the market rate, and you can consider a couple of discount points need to be paid down. They're called discount points, but they're essentially fees. That being said, most of that can all be financed in, but you got to keep an eye on the payment. FHA is not going to hold you to the standard um, practice of only lending you to 100% of the value of the house. They will loan you up to 110% of the after improved appraised value. It's called the AI after improved AI a whatever value. The reason for that is that that whole loan was designed in the 70s for urban renewal, and it works fine. But if you're going to do that, you have to have patience. So that's the HUD, FHA, VA type loans. Yes, you can do it. No, it's not easy. Can you get a deal? Yes. Just be prepared. It's not like walking in and turning the key and you can live there the next day. The other kind of foreclosures, and there's really two other kinds. The most common of the two other kinds is a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loan. A Fannie Mae and a Freddie Mac loan are now quasi-government insured, but Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have a lot of foreclosures. Most of those are also in a state of disrepair. They need work. They both also have their own processes for making offers. You do have to prove that you either have cash, in which case they don't really care about much, or that you have a loan approval. Sometimes the bank, if a bank is servicing it, the bank will require that you get an approval through them. You don't have to use that loan, but you do have to. They want somebody to say, yes, this person can pay this loan. Keep in mind, though, that Fannie Mae also has something that they call home path renovation. Home path renovation is a similar program to FHA 203K. It does allow you to borrow the money to buy the house. It does allow you to borrow the money to do the repairs. In both the home path renovation and the FHA 203K, you may not be an investor. You must promise to occupy the property. That being said, it can still take a long time to get the house in a condition to occupy. So there are bumps in the road on that as well. The Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, FHA or HUD, all of those foreclosures really are targeted to investors, cash buyers. And a cash buyer is one who isn't going to have a lien against the property in order to buy it. They're going to be, they may have a line of credit that they draw on. They may have a bank account. And most of those investors, they're at a little bit of a disadvantage because both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have waiting periods where the house is listed for owner-occupant only. That kind of encourages, I've seen people pretend that they're going to occupy that property. I will not help someone do that, and no one I know will, for the simple reason that it's completely unethical and it's not worth losing your license over, which you can do. You get on Fannie's or Freddie's blacklist, and you can never represent a buyer on one of their properties again. So it's just not worth it, and it's unethical. That being said, so the foreclosure market is a tricky market. For an investor who's going to buy that home and keep it as a rental has a whole different approach to how they're going to buy a foreclosure than an investor who's going to buy a property at the bottom of the market, bring it to the top of the market, and sell it for a profit. That second buyer is called a flipper. And those people, at one time, there were people who really didn't know what they were doing. Too many people were doing it without a lot of skill or knowledge, didn't know their numbers, and they were overpaying. But today, most of those people have, they crunch their numbers down to the penny. They know exactly what the most they can pay. And those people are competing for the properties. There are fewer foreclosures available today in the areas where there's a reasonable return at the high end of the market. The people who are in trouble are people in certain zip codes where there's not a big difference between the high end and the low end of the market, where there's very little retail sales, where all the sales are distressed properties, foreclosures, and short sales. And we'll talk about short sales in a whole different video. So here's the thing about foreclosures. Can they be done? Yes. Are they a good deal? They can be for the right buyer. Is it easy? No. Do you need a professional to help you through it? Yes, absolutely. You may need more than one professional. You need a good realtor. You need a fantastic lender, and you need at least contact with one or more good title companies. So that's my story about foreclosures. If you have any questions about is this a good deal, I have some formulas that I can share with you to calculate whether it's a good idea or not. And my number is 314-440-1507. You can reach me here on this Facebook page, Mr. Phil's Real Estate page. And you can email me at mrmr.phil@redkeystlewis. There's no dot after the ST. It's just redkeystlewis.com. Thanks and have a great day.